Ancient star maps carved into stone hold entire world views, waiting to be unlocked. This video will give you the ability to see the constellations not as we do, but through the eyes of the people who first named them thousands of years ago. We will journey to remote deserts and forgotten monuments to uncover how these celestial charts guided survival, shaped belief, and recorded cosmic events that stunned early astronomers. How did cultures separated by oceans create such similar sky maps on rock? And what secret knowledge did their elite stargazers protect? What part of the human story written in the stars are we still trying to read today? This fundamental need to read the heavens was born from the very rhythm of survival. For a hunter following migratory prey or a farmer awaiting the seasonal rains, the sky was not a distant mystery but a practical, vital tool. The consistent cycles of the sun and moon provided the first reliable clock, while the shifting positions of stars signaled when to plant, when to harvest, and when to move to new grounds. It was a matter of life itself to notice that the rising of a certain star cluster always preceded the spring thaw, or that the moon's phases could track the passage of weeks. This was not mere curiosity. It was the beginning of a deep, systematic observation that would allow humanity to plan, to predict, and ultimately to thrive. Across the globe, from the plains of Africa to the islands of the Pacific, disparate cultures began this same patient watch, independently discovering the celestial order that governed their world. Archaeologist Dr. Clive Ruggles describes this as a universal human endeavor, a cornerstone of civilization itself. The drive to find patterns and impose order on the cosmos is what allowed societies to coordinate their activities on a grand scale. By tracking the sun's path, they could define the year. By marking the moon's cycles, they could create months. This celestial timekeeping gave rise to the first calendars, transforming human existence from a day-to-day struggle into a planned future. But these were living charts, etched into memory and passed down through oral tradition, vulnerable to being lost or changed with each generation. So why did cultures eventually feel the overwhelming need to carve this knowledge, quite literally, in stone? The answer lies in the permanence of the message and the power of the events they witnessed. When a community saw something extraordinary in the sky, an event so shocking it defied their understanding of cosmic order, the desire to record it for all time became irresistible. This impulse to make the temporary permanent leads us directly to the remote and dramatic locations where these ancient star maps await our interpretation. The impulse to make a celestial event permanent drove these cultures to choose the most enduring canvas they could find, the very bedrock beneath their feet. And we find their handiwork in the most unexpected corners of the world. In the sun-scorched deserts of the American Southwest, petroglyphs pecked into canyon walls seem to chart the sun's solstice path. Far across the ocean, within the deep, ceremonial chambers of Ireland's Noath Passage tomb, intricate spirals and circles are illuminated by a beam of light on the equinox. Even the famous painted caves of Lascaux in France, where ancient artists depicted aurochs and horses, may hold a celestial secret. One striking painting of a bull with 6 prominent dots above its shoulder has led many researchers to wonder if we are looking at an early depiction of the Taurus constellation, the Pleiades star cluster dancing just out of reach. What is truly remarkable is not just the existence of these sites, but their staggering diversity. A society living in the open, arid landscape of the American desert created a calendar you could stand before and watch the sunlight interact with. Meanwhile, in the misty, cloud-draped highlands of Scotland, builders constructed massive stone circles that framed specific astronomical events on the horizon. One culture marked time on a vertical rock face, another on a vast horizontal plain. Their methods were as different as their environments, yet their goal was identical: to pin down the cycles of the cosmos in a tangible, predictable form. This was not a single idea spreading from one place, but a universal human response to the sky above, a shared intellectual dawn breaking independently across the globe. This pattern of parallel discovery points toward something profound about our species, an innate drive to seek order in the heavens, and it sets the stage for us to understand the most ambitious and precise of all these ancient observatories, a place where astronomy was not just recorded, but engineered into the landscape on a breathtaking scale. Among these scattered celestial records, one artifact stands apart for its sheer sophistication and beauty. Unearthed by chance in the forested hills of Germany, the Nebra Sky Disk is a breathtaking Bronze Age masterpiece, a portable cosmos cast in bronze and gold. Dating back over 3,600 years, it is the oldest known concrete representation of the night sky. On its surface, a golden sun or full moon sails alongside a delicate crescent, while a cluster of stars scattered between them has been identified as the Pleiades. Two golden arcs along the rim frame the horizon, and a final arc at the bottom, often interpreted as a solar barge, suggests a mythological vessel carrying the sun on its daily journey. This was not a simple picture, it was a complex instrument. Researchers like Professor Harold Meller, who has studied the disk extensively, suggest it functioned as a precise astronomical calculator. Its design allowed the Bronze Age unetist people to harmonize the lunar calendar with the solar year, a crucial piece of knowledge for determining the correct times for planting and for important cultural ceremonies. This synchronization was vital, as a calendar based solely on the moon would slowly drift out of sync with the seasons. The disk provided a visual rule, a way to know exactly when to add an extra lunar month to keep the calendar in step with the sun. This level of understanding, combined with the exquisite skill required to work with imported metals and inlay gold with such precision, reveals a society with specialist knowledge and a complex worldview. The Nebra Sky Disk shatters the old image of prehistoric Europe, presenting us instead with a culture of accomplished astronomers and metalworkers who saw the cosmos as an integral, measurable part of their lives. It forces us to wonder what other forms of celestial art, perhaps less durable than bronze, have been lost to time. The Nebra Sky Disk, a cosmos you could hold in your hands, represents one of two great paths ancient cultures took to preserve their celestial knowledge. On one side, we have portable masterpieces like the disk, objects of power and precision that could travel. On the other, we find the monumental petroglyphs, cosmic calendars permanently anchored to the Earth itself. Consider the sheer rock faces of Choco Canyon in New Mexico. Here, a spiral petroglyph is no mere decoration. On the summer solstice, a single blade of sunlight, known as a sun dagger, pierces its very center, a brilliant and predictable event that marks the longest day of the year. This is astronomy engineered directly into the landscape, a public spectacle that could be witnessed by an entire community, binding them to the turning of the seasons through a shared, awe-inspiring experience. The message was fixed, immutable, and tied to a specific, sacred place. Portable artifacts offered a completely different kind of utility. A bronze disc or a carved stone plaque was a mobile library of celestial knowledge. It could be carried by a spiritual leader to teach initiates in different villages, used by a trader to explain the passage of time to distant cultures, or held aloft during a ritual held anywhere under the stars. Its power was in its flexibility, but it was also vulnerable, something that could be lost, stolen, or buried as a ceremonial offering, just as the Nebra disk was, hidden away for millennia. The choice of medium speaks volumes about the intended audience and the function of the knowledge itself. A public sun dagger carved onto a canyon wall served the whole community, a democratic clock for all to see. A complex metal disc requiring specialized interpretation suggests a more guarded form of understanding, perhaps managed by a learned elite. One was a communal billboard, the other a confidential textbook. This fundamental distinction between the fixed and the portable shows us that ancient astronomy was not a single, uniform practice. It was a flexible tool, adapted to serve both public timekeeping and the preservation of sophisticated, even secret, knowledge. And this very duality leads us to the next great challenge. How do we, thousands of years later, begin to accurately read these star maps without the key to their code? Decoding these silent stone maps requires a special kind of detective work, a field known as archaeoastronomy. This discipline acts as a bridge, connecting the careful digging of archaeology with the precise calculations of astronomy to read the messages our ancestors left in stone and alignment. It moves us beyond simply wondering if a pattern looks like a constellation, and instead asks a more rigorous question. Does this structure actually point to a specific celestial event with deliberate, measurable intent? The process begins with painstaking surveying, mapping a site's every stone and carving with extreme accuracy. Researchers then use sophisticated computer software to model the ancient sky, accounting for a subtle but crucial wobble in Earth rotation called precession. This slow drift over millennia means the stars and the sun's rising points gradually shift, so the sky 3,000 years ago was not identical to our sky tonight. By digitally rolling back the clock, we can see what the builders themselves saw. The results can be stunningly clear. At Stonehenge in England, the massive heel stone stands apart from the main circle. For a viewer standing at the center of the monument during the summer solstice sunrise, the sun appears to rise directly over that lone stone, framing the longest day of the year in a dramatic, unmistakable alignment. This was not a coincidence, it was an engineered experience. Similarly, the sun dagger at Fajoda Butte in New Mexico transforms a rock carving into a celestial timepiece. A spiral petroglyph, itself an ancient symbol for the sun or life cycles, becomes the focal point for a dagger of light that slices through its center only on the solstices and equinoxes. This is not a vague symbol open to interpretation. It is a precise, predictable, and public astronomical event carved into the landscape itself. This scientific approach provides the concrete evidence that separates informed theory from mere speculation. It demonstrates a purposeful design, a clear astronomical intent baked into the very foundations of these places, but confirming the alignment is only the first step. It tells us the what and the how, but it leaves a deeper question unanswered. Why would a society invest immense labor and resources to track the sun's journey with such exacting precision? The answer lies not in the stars alone, but in the cultural world that gave these alignments their true meaning, moving us from the mechanics of observation into the realm of belief and power. But confirming an astronomical alignment only gives us half the story. It reveals the mechanics of an ancient observatory, the precise engineering of its stones, but it cannot tell us what the event meant to the people who gathered there. For that deeper layer of understanding, we turn to a second, equally vital method of interpretation, one that listens for the echoes of ancient stories. This is the work of ethnographers and anthropologists who collaborate with the living descendants of the very people who created these sites, piecing together the rich tapestry of myth and oral tradition that gives the cold stone its true voice. Consider the Pawnee people of the North American plains. Their star lore is among the most sophisticated ever documented. For them, the constellations were not random patterns, but celestial beings, ancestors, and spirit animals whose movements directly influenced life on Earth. The pattern we call the Big Dipper was seen as a stretcher carrying a sick or deceased individual, while the Corona Borealis was the heavenly council of chiefs. When researchers compare these detailed oral histories with petroglyphs found on ancestral Pawnee lands, a symbol that might have been dismissed as a simple circle or a set of dots can suddenly be understood as a specific star or a representation of a cosmic event described in a centuries-old story. This process transforms anonymous rock art into a page from a living celestial narrative. These stories are not uniform, they are beautifully diverse. The Pleiades star cluster, for instance, is seen across the globe. In Greek myth, they are the seven sisters pursued by Orion. For the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, they are a group of young women, and their appearance in the sky signals the coming of winter. Among the Maya, they were known as the rattlesnake's tail, their position marking the beginning of the agricultural season. Despite the different characters, a common thread emerges. These stars are almost universally associated with groups of figures, often feminine, and their rising and setting are intimately tied to the cycles of planting, harvest, and seasonal change. By weaving these ethnographic threads together with the astronomical data, we stop just seeing a star map and start hearing its story. The abstract patterns become a living cultural heritage, a record not just of celestial mechanics, but of the beliefs, values, and spiritual worldviews that gave human meaning to the vast and silent night sky. This narrative layer hints at a profound truth that for these ancient astronomers, tracking the stars was never just a practical exercise. It was a way of participating in a sacred cosmic order. This connection between the stars and the spirit world transforms these carvings from simple charts into profound cosmological maps. They were sacred texts in stone, offering a permanent explanation for the universe's greatest mysteries, its origin, its structure, and humanity's own small place within its vast design. A powerful idea found across countless cultures is the axis mundi, or world tree, a central pillar believed to connect the earth, the heavens, and sometimes even the underworld. In Norse belief, the great ash tree Yggdrasil stood at the center of all worlds, its roots and branches holding the 9 realms together. For the ancient Maya, a towering world tree, often depicted as a flowering ceiba tree, pierced through the layers of the cosmos. Its roots reached into the dark underworld of Xibalba, while its trunk passed through the human world and its branches soared into the celestial paradise where the gods resided. This was not just a pretty story, it was a literal model of the universe. We see this concept etched into art and architecture, where the tree is frequently shown adorned with celestial bodies, its very form mirroring the path of the Milky Way across the night sky. This spiritual framework answers the question of why such immense effort was devoted to these projects. Aligning a massive stone circle or carefully pecking a spiral into a remote cliff face was an act of profound religious significance. It was a way to tether their community to the cosmic order, to build a permanent gateway between the human and the divine. By marking the solstice sunrise, they were not just noting a date, they were participating in the sun's eternal cycle of death and rebirth, ensuring its return and the continued life of their world. The star maps were a vital part of this sacred dialogue, a means of making the intangible forces of creation tangible, predictable, and present in their daily lives. This deep spiritual need to be in harmony with the cosmos was the true engine behind the development of their most advanced practical knowledge. That deep spiritual connection to the stars was grounded in a profoundly practical reality. The cosmos provided the most reliable calendar our ancestors could ever possess, a celestial clockwork that governed the essential rhythms of life. Knowing precisely when to plant seeds, when to expect the rains, or when to move herds to new pastures was not a matter of convenience. It was the difference between a thriving community and hardship. This is where the star maps carved into stone revealed their genius as agricultural and ceremonial guides. In ancient Egypt, the most important date of the year was signaled not by the sun or moon, but by the star Sirius. After a period of invisibility, its first reappearance just before dawn, known as its heliacal rising, coincided almost perfectly with the annual flooding of the Nile. This celestial event was their new year, a promise of life-giving water and fertile silt that would nourish their crops for the coming season. The entire civilization's agricultural cycle was set in motion by watching for this one star. Far across the world, the Maori people of Aotearoa, New Zealand, looked to the Pleiades cluster, which they called Matariki. Its first rising in the pre-dawn sky in midwinter marked their new year, a time for remembrance, celebration, and preparing the ground for the spring planting. The appearance of these stars was a direct instruction from the heavens, a signal understood by everyone from the farmer to the chief. But how did they translate this celestial signal into a date on the ground? This is where the stone circles and carvings came into play. A standing stone carefully positioned on a horizon could act as a permanent foresight. When a priest or elder saw the Pleiades rise directly over that specific stone, they knew the time had come. A spiral petroglyph, when pierced by a shaft of sunlight on a particular day, provided an unfailing public announcement. These were not passive monuments, they were functional instruments of time, designed to give their society a crucial head start on the seasons. This system, however, faced a fundamental challenge: a calendar based on 12 cycles of the moon, which take about 29.5 days each, results in a year of only 354 days. This lunar year quickly falls out of sync with the 365-day solar year that governs the seasons. Within just a few years, a lunar calendar would have festivals for planting occurring in the wrong season. The solution, evidenced by artifacts like the Nebra Sky Disk, was the development of a lunisolar calendar. This required the sophisticated knowledge of when to add an extra 13th lunar month to the year to resynchronize the moon with the sun. This was the ultimate act of cosmic harmonization, a complex reconciliation of two celestial cycles to ensure that human time remained in step with the eternal rhythms of the earth and sky. This practical necessity reveals a mind that saw no separation between the science of observation and the art of survival. And this same drive to read the heavens for guidance on land would soon be applied to an even greater challenge: finding a path across the trackless sea. This celestial clockwork that guided the seasons was also the world's first global positioning system, a star chart that could guide a traveler across thousands of miles of trackless ocean. For the Polynesian voyagers who settled the vast Pacific, the night sky was their roadmap. They were master navigators who, centuries before European explorers, traversed immense distances between tiny islands by reading the stars, the waves, and the flight of birds. They did not use physical maps but carried intricate mental star compasses, memorizing the precise rising and setting points of key stars as they passed over specific islands. A star known to pass directly over Tahiti would become a celestial signpost, its position carefully noted in song and story. It is easy to imagine petroglyphs of circles and lines found throughout the Pacific not as random art, but as mnemonic training tools, permanent illustrations of these star paths where elders taught the next generation how to read the highway of the heavens. In the Northern Hemisphere, another constant guide held sway. While most stars appear to wheel across the sky, one star remains nearly fixed: Polaris, the North Star. Because Earth's axis points almost directly at it, Polaris barely moves, serving as a steadfast beacon in the north. This single, unmoving point allowed travelers on the Silk Road or sailors in the Mediterranean to maintain their course through the darkest nights. They could measure their latitude simply by gauging the star's height above the horizon, a fundamental technique of celestial navigation. This practical, adventurous use of the stars reveals a different facet of ancient astronomy, one of movement and exploration rather than fixed observation. Yet the same precise knowledge that guided a canoe to a distant island was also used to anchor the grandest constructions to the cosmos. The same understanding of celestial movement that allowed a navigator to find a single atoll in a vast ocean was what enabled a culture to align a massive temple so perfectly that the sun would flood its inner chamber only on the king's birthday. This was not separate knowledge, it was all part of a single, unified system, a deep conversation with the cosmos that guided humanity in both its greatest journeys and its most sacred foundations. This ambition to translate the cosmos into architecture reaches its zenith in the silent, monumental statements of the ancient world. Entire cities and tombs were designed as macro star maps, permanent echoes of the heavens here on Earth. The pyramids of Giza present one of the most compelling examples. The three great pyramids do not form a perfect straight line. Their layout mirrors the distinctive, slightly offset pattern of the three stars in Orion's belt. This was not a random placement, it was a deliberate act of celestial mimicry on a staggering scale, a belief that by recreating the sacred Juwat or afterlife realm of the stars, the deceased pharaohs would achieve their resurrection and eternal life. Across the Atlantic, the builders of Teotihuacan in Mexico engineered a similar cosmic reflection. The city's three main structures, the pyramids of the sun and moon and the temple of the feathered serpent, are not aligned with the cardinal directions by chance. Their precise layout is believed by many researchers to be a scale model of our solar system, with the structures representing the sun, the earth, and other planets, their distances and proportions mirroring the celestial order they observed above. The engineering prowess required for such alignments is almost beyond comprehension. We are not talking about aligning a single doorway, but orienting millions of tons of stone across kilometers of terrain with an accuracy that rivals modern surveying. How did they achieve such precision without magnetic compasses or advanced optics? The answer lies in patient, generations-long observation using simple yet brilliant tools. A length of cord, a set of marking stakes, and a vessel of water to create a perfectly level plane could establish a true baseline. By tracking the shadows cast by these stakes over years, they could pinpoint the solstices and equinoxes, locking in their cardinal directions with astonishing accuracy. These monuments were far more than tombs or temples. They were the ultimate cosmological statements. They declared that the king or the priestly class possessed the knowledge to harness the power of the cosmos itself, to literally build heaven on earth. This blurred the line between celestial map and terrestrial reality, making the ruler's power and the city's sacredness as permanent and unchanging as the stars themselves. The sheer scale of these projects forces us to ask what sophisticated tools and profound understanding have been lost to time, and what other cosmic blueprints are hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to see the ancient sky in the stones at our feet. This control over the heavens translated directly into authority on the ground. In the Maya world, the astronomer priest was not merely a scholar, he was a vital political figure. His ability to predict an eclipse or announce the optimal day to plant maize from the movements of Venus and the Pleiades demonstrated a direct line to the divine will. This knowledge allowed him to advise the king, schedule sacred ball games that echoed cosmic battles, and legitimize the ruler's power by framing it as part of a celestial order. When a king claimed to descend from a god, the priest's ability to read that god's path across the night sky made the claim tangible and unchallengeable. This was a form of power rooted in an exclusive understanding of the universe's clockwork, a knowledge base so critical it was likely guarded as a state secret. This explains the intricate, often encoded nature of their carvings and codices. These were not public textbooks, they were the proprietary manuals of a powerful intellectual class. The symbols served a dual purpose. They preserved complex information while restricting its interpretation to the initiated few. This secretive practice now presents a formidable challenge for modern researchers. Without a living key to the code, a single spiral could represent a star, a planet, a god, or an entire cycle of time, and we may never know for sure. This concept of a spiritual journey to the stars offers another layer to this elite knowledge. Across many cultures, from the Siberian tundra to the Amazon rainforest, the shamanic journey is a common thread. In this tradition, a shaman spirit is believed to travel to the celestial realm, often navigating by the constellations to commune with ancestors or gain healing wisdom. The star maps carved into stone or drawn on hides could have served as guides or portals for these spiritual voyages. The symbols acted as a visual itinerary for the soul, charting a course through the spirit world. The Lascaux cave painting of the bull and the 6 dots, for instance, might not be a simple star chart, but a depiction of a visionary landscape, a snapshot from a shaman's journey where the celestial bull and the Pleiades were powerful spiritual allies. This intertwining of astronomy with altered states of consciousness suggests that for these early specialists, reading the stars was not a detached scientific act. It was a holistic experience that blended precise observation with profound spiritual belief. The elite who held this knowledge wielded a dual power. They were both the scientists who could predict the turning of the seasons and the mystics who could traverse the cosmos. Their authority came from bridging the human and the divine, and the stone maps they left behind are the cryptic remnants of that sacred, powerful dialogue. This slow celestial drift presents a monumental puzzle for anyone trying to read an ancient star map. The sky our ancestors saw was not the sky we see tonight. Earth spins like a wobbly top, its axis tracing a slow, grand circle in space over a cycle of 26,000 years. This phenomenon, called the precession of the equinoxes, means the entire celestial sphere gradually shifts. The star we know as Polaris was not always the steadfast North Star, and the Sun's position against the backdrop of stars on the spring equinox has moved from the constellation of Taurus to Aries and then to Pisces over the millennia. A petroglyph carved 5,000 years ago, depicting a constellation rising directly over a specific mountain peak, would today show that same star cluster rising in a completely different part of the sky. The map remains fixed in stone, but the reality it was meant to capture has silently drifted away. To overcome this, researchers turn back the cosmic clock using powerful computer simulations. They input the exact coordinates of an archaeological site and then digitally rewind time, accounting for precession to reconstruct the night sky on any given date in the distant past. This allows them to ask a critical question: does that stone circle truly align with the summer solstice sunrise as it occurred 4,000 years ago? Or does this cluster of cup marks match the pattern of the Pleiades as it appeared above the horizon when the artist struck the rock? This complex correction is the first and most crucial step in verifying an astronomical hypothesis. Yet for all its power, this method introduces a layer of profound uncertainty, especially for the oldest sites. The further back we go in time, the greater the cumulative effect of precession, and the wider the margin of error in our celestial calculations. It forces a humble acknowledgement that our modern interpretation of these ancient charts is always an approximation, a best guess at a sky that has long since changed. Even the clearest star pattern carved in stone holds a silent, fundamental ambiguity. Is this a literal chart of the heavens, or is it a storyboard for a myth? A circle surrounded by smaller dots might seem an obvious depiction of the Pleiades star cluster, a celestial marker known worldwide. Yet that very same symbol could just as easily represent a community gathered around a leader, a family of ancestral spirits, or the characters from a foundational legend about the first people. This is the second great challenge in decoding these maps, navigating the thin and often blurred line between a scientific record and a symbolic narrative. Our modern, science-oriented minds are quick to see constellations in every arrangement of marks, a cognitive bias known as pareidolia, where we find familiar patterns in random shapes. This tendency can lead researchers down a tempting but misleading path, imposing our own cultural framework onto a symbol system that operated under completely different rules. An expert in the field would stress that there is no single key to unlock these puzzles. The only reliable approach is a multidisciplinary one, where an astronomer confirms a potential alignment, an archaeologist dates the tool marks, and an anthropologist consults oral histories for a matching story. Only when these threads weave together can we begin to distinguish a drawing of the stars from a prayer written in stone. This delicate task of interpretation becomes even more complex when the very landscape these maps are tied to has been fundamentally transformed, raising the question of how much context has been lost to the slow but relentless hand of environmental change. The silent fading of a petroglyph is a loss felt across centuries. Beyond the slow drift of the stars and the ambiguity of symbols, the physical canvases themselves, the very stones that hold these ancient sky maps, are facing their own modern era of challenges. Natural erosion from wind and rain slowly grinds away at delicate carvings, while lichen growth insidiously obscures precise astronomical alignments etched into the rock. These natural processes are now accelerated by human activity, from the careless scratch of vandalism to the broader, more insidious impacts of a changing climate. More frequent freeze-thaw cycles can fracture rock faces, and shifting weather patterns may increase rates of chemical weathering, threatening to erase celestial records in a geological instant. Studying these sites has become a race against time, an urgent effort to document what remains before it is lost forever. In Italy's Valcamonica Valley, a UNESCO World Heritage Site home to over 200,000 rock carvings spanning thousands of years, conservators are engaged in this delicate work. They meticulously clean surfaces without damaging the ancient peck marks, use non-invasive laser scanning to create permanent digital records, and monitor fragile panels for the slightest signs of new deterioration. This is not merely technical work, it is an act of cultural rescue. Every spiral that might chart a solstice, every cluster of dots that could represent the Pleiades, represents a chapter in humanity's collective story. This responsibility extends beyond researchers to every visitor. The simple act of touching a petroglyph, however gently, transfers oils from skin to stone, accelerating the very decay we seek to prevent. Staying on marked paths, respecting barriers, and following the guidance of local custodians are small but vital contributions to preservation. These stones are a non-renewable resource. Once a carving is worn away, the celestial message it carried is gone, its unique perspective on the cosmos silenced for all time. This urgent need to safeguard our fragile heritage is what makes the next generation of tools, the modern eyes we turn toward the past, not just innovative but essential. The slow fading of these celestial records is now being met with a technological renaissance. Advanced tools are giving us new eyes to see what has been obscured for centuries, allowing us to peer into the past without ever touching a fragile surface. One of the most powerful of these is LiDAR, or light detection and ranging. Imagine a laser scanner mounted on an airplane or drone, firing millions of light pulses toward the ground. By measuring the time it takes for each pulse to return, it builds an exquisitely detailed three-dimensional map of the terrain, digitally stripping away layers of forest and vegetation to reveal the bare earth beneath. In dense jungles of Central America, LiDAR has uncovered entire ancient cities and road networks hidden for 1,000 years. For star maps, its power is transformative. It can reveal subtle alignments of stones over vast distances, showing how a single petroglyph site might be connected to a horizon marker miles away, forming a grand celestial diagram written across the whole landscape. This gives us the big picture, the context that has been lost to time and nature. For the fine details on the rock face itself, another set of tools comes into play. Techniques like reflectance transformation imaging, or RTI, use digital photography to capture a surface from a fixed position under dozens of different lighting angles. A computer then combines these images, allowing a researcher to interactively relight the carving on a screen. They can drag a virtual light source across it, enhancing shallow grooves and worn symbols that are completely invisible to the naked eye under flat sunlight. A faint spiral, a cluster of dots, a line guiding the eye to a solstice sunrise, all can be brought back to legibility. These are non-contact methods, preserving the artifact while unlocking its secrets. The data they produce allows for stunningly accurate virtual reconstructions. We can now stand in a museum and, through a tablet or virtual reality headset, watch a digital recreation of sunlight piercing the heart of a spiral petroglyph on the other side of the world. This technological leap does more than just provide new data. It democratizes discovery. It makes these fragile, remote wonders accessible to students, researchers, and the global public, ensuring that even as the physical stones slowly weather, their celestial messages will endure for generations to come. The Goseck Circle in Germany offers a window into a mind from 7,000 years ago, a mind that saw the sun not as a simple ball of light, but as a being with a predictable, sacred journey. Unearthed from beneath a field, this Neolithic monument is not built of towering stones, but of concentric rings, earthworks, and wooden palisades that once stood as a stark geometric statement on the landscape. Its design is a masterpiece of intention. Two opposing gates pierce the circular enclosure, and these are not placed at random. One gate frames the rising sun on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, while the opposite gate captures the setting sun on that same pivotal day. A third gate aligns perfectly with the summer solstice sunrise, completing a celestial triad etched into the earth. Imagine the experience of standing at the center of that circle on a cold, clear December morning. As the sun crests the horizon, its first rays would stream directly through the southern gate, a blade of light piercing the heart of the structure, announcing the sun's symbolic rebirth and the slow return of longer days. This was not a passive observation post, it was an instrument. The people of the Funelbika culture, farmers and herders, engineered this site with a sophistication that speaks to generations of patient sky watching. They understood the solar cycle with enough precision to encode its extreme points into a permanent, communal structure. This knowledge was the bedrock of their survival, allowing them to mark the depths of winter and anticipate the coming spring, to regulate their agricultural calendar with a reliability that mere memory could not provide. But the Goseck Circle was far more than a simple farmer's almanac. The effort required to construct it, the deliberate alignment, and evidence of ceremonial activity point to its role as a sacred space. It was a place where the practical need to track time fused completely with the spiritual need to commune with the cosmic forces that governed their world. The solstice was not just a date, it was a moment of high drama, a turning point in the eternal struggle between light and dark, and this circle was their front row seat to the spectacle. This principle of a monument serving dual purposes, as both a precise timekeeping device and a profound ritual center, is a thread that connects Goseck to the grandest stone circles and pyramids that would follow. It reveals a universal human truth that our earliest science was born from a need to find meaning in the cycles of the cosmos, and to build structures that made that meaning tangible for an entire community to share. High on a canyon wall in Choco Canyon, a simple yet startling image endures. Painted in a reddish pigment, a 10-pointed star shines brilliantly right beside a carefully rendered crescent moon. This is not a typical scene, for the star is far too large and its placement too specific. Many researchers believe this pictograph captures a single, extraordinary week in the year 1054, when a new star, visible even in broad daylight, suddenly appeared next to the moon. This was no ordinary star, but a supernova, the catastrophic explosion of a dying sun, an event so violent it briefly outshone an entire galaxy. The supernova of 1054 was witnessed and meticulously recorded by court astronomers in China and the Islamic world, who noted its exact position and its proximity to the waning moon. Their detailed chronicles give us a precise celestial timestamp, one that aligns perfectly with the Choco painting. The temporal connection is reinforced by tree ring dating from the site, which confirms the canyon's great houses were being actively built and occupied at this exact time. The convergence of evidence is powerful, suggesting the ancestral Puebloan people, masters of celestial observation, looked up at that sudden, silent cataclysm and felt a profound need to record its shocking presence for all who would follow. This was more than art, it was a scientific notation, a way of pinning a transient cosmic wonder to the permanent canvas of the canyon wall. The pictograph transforms from a simple drawing into a shared moment of global discovery, proving that skilled astronomers in the American Southwest were watching the same unpredictable sky as their counterparts in Beijing and Baghdad. They did not need telescopes or written records to participate in this moment of collective human awe. They had the knowledge to recognize an anomaly and the skill to preserve its memory across generations. This single image challenges old narratives of isolated cultures, revealing instead a world connected by the universal language of the night sky, where a single cosmic event could inspire different people on different continents to do the very same thing, to look up and bear witness. This celestial architecture reaches a fever pitch of speculation with the Orion correlation theory, a bold claim that the three great pyramids of Giza are a perfect terrestrial map of the three stars in Orion's belt. The visual parallel is undeniably captivating. Seen from above, the pyramids of Menkora, Khafre, and Khufu form a line that is slightly, but distinctly, offset, a pattern that looks remarkably similar to the diagonal arrangement of the stars Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintoka. Proponents argue this was a deliberate act, a monumental effort by the ancient Egyptians to build the Juwat, the stellar afterlife, here on Earth, guiding the soul of the pharaoh directly to the gods. The idea is powerful, weaving the pyramids into a cosmic narrative that feels almost too perfect to be false. Yet when we subject this grand pattern to the cold, hard light of astronomical and archaeological evidence, the theory begins to unravel. The first major problem is the alignment itself. For the pyramids to be a perfect mirror, they should be positioned in the same proportional relationship and orientation as the stars. But when astronomers overlay the star map onto the pyramid layout, the fit is not precise. the relative distances and angles between the pyramids do not match the celestial blueprint with the accuracy we would expect from the builders who otherwise demonstrated such incredible precision in their construction. The match is suggestive but not scientifically conclusive. A more significant challenge is time. Earth's slow precession means the position of Orion's belt relative to the horizon has changed dramatically over the millennia. The theory pins the perfect alignment to a specific date around 10,500 BCE, a time that predates the accepted building dates of the pyramids by a staggering 6,000 years. This creates an impossible chronological gap, suggesting a long-lost civilization with advanced knowledge for which there is no archaeological trace. Egyptologists point to a profound lack of supporting evidence within the extensive textual record left by the Egyptians themselves. Their own funerary texts, like the pyramid texts, are filled with detailed astronomical knowledge and spells for the pharaoh's journey to the stars. They mention Orion, which they called Sar, and the Milky Way, yet nowhere is there a single inscription, diagram, or instruction that hints at a master plan to replicate that specific constellation on the ground with their most important national project. This silence from the very people who built the monuments is perhaps the most damning evidence of all. The allure of the Orion correlation theory is a powerful lesson in how our pattern-seeking minds can sometimes see connections that confirm our deepest wishes for a mysterious, lost wisdom. It highlights the critical distinction between an intriguing possibility and a proven fact, reminding us that in the quest to decode the past, the most compelling stories must still be weighed against the rigorous scales of evidence. This enduring debate divides our understanding of the ancient world. Did a single, brilliant astronomical idea spread across the globe from a lost mother culture, carried by intrepid voyagers, or did the same celestial insights dawn independently in the minds of people separated by vast oceans, a shared human spark igniting under the same night sky? This is the core conflict between diffusionism and the theory of independent invention. Proponents of diffusion point to startling similarities that seem to defy coincidence. The swastika, for example, appears across continents and millennia, from the temples of ancient India to the pottery of the American Southwest. Long before its modern misuse, this symbol universally represented the sun, its arms evoking the turning wheel of the seasons or a celestial cross. Its widespread presence asks a tantalizing question: could this shared symbol be evidence of ancient transoceanic contact, a fragment of a shared cosmology carried by forgotten explorers? The possibility of such long-distance voyages, perhaps by Polynesian navigators reaching South America, or by Atlantic currents carrying boats from Africa, suggests our ancestors were far more interconnected than traditional history allows. Yet the counterargument is equally compelling. The human brain, observing the same sun, moon, and star patterns, might naturally arrive at similar conclusions and even similar symbols. A spinning pinwheel of light, a rotating cross, these are fundamental patterns of motion that any culture watching the turning sky might independently conceive. The constellation we call the Big Dipper, for instance, is seen as a bear in both North America and Europe, not because of cultural exchange, but because its distinctive shape genuinely resembles a lumbering animal with a long tail to observers in the Northern Hemisphere. This points to something deeper than shared travel routes. It suggests a shared cognitive wiring. The human mind is a pattern-finding engine, hardwired to impose order on chaos, to connect dots into familiar shapes, and to seek meaning in the vast and silent cosmos. This innate tendency, known as pareidolia, is why we see faces in clouds and animals in the stars. It is a universal human trait that connects an Egyptian priest tracing Orion on a temple wall to a Polynesian navigator memorizing the star compass, and even to us, looking up at the same night sky and feeling that same ancient pull towards understanding. The truth likely lies not in one pure explanation, but in a complex tapestry woven from both threads, some ideas traveling on the wind and waves, while others bloomed separately from the universal soil of human experience. The names we use for the constellations tonight are not modern inventions, but living artifacts handed down through an unbroken chain of storytellers. When you point out Orion the Hunter, you are using a name that echoes across 3,000 years, from the poets of ancient Greece back to the star charts of the Babylonians, who called this same pattern the true shepherd of Anu. The Great Bear, Ursa Major, prowls our northern sky with a history just as deep, her form recognized in the celestial myths of countless northern hemisphere cultures. This is not a coincidence, but evidence of a cultural inheritance, a slow filtering of knowledge and myth from the ancient Near East into the classical world, and eventually into our modern atlases. The Greek astronomer Ptolemy, working in the 2nd century, codified 48 constellations in his great work, the Almagest. Many of these were borrowed directly from even older Babylonian traditions, which were themselves often built upon the star lore of the Sumerians. The scorpion that menaces Orion in the sky, for instance, was known to the Babylonians as Gertab the Caesar, a creature of the underworld. The Greeks adopted this celestial enemy and wove it into their own dramatic myth of the hunter pursued. This continuity reveals a fascinating process of cultural translation, where the core patterns remained constant, but the stories attached to them evolved to reflect the values and beliefs of each new society that looked up and wondered. The constellation became a permanent canvas, while the narrative painted upon it could change with the times. This direct lineage means that the star maps carved into Babylonian boundary stones or painted in Egyptian tomb ceilings are the direct ancestors of the charts used by the Hubble Space Telescope. They represent a continuous thread of human engagement, a multi-millennial conversation with the cosmos where we have never stopped adding new chapters to a very old story. Our modern sky is a palimpsest, a parchment where the writings of countless generations are still faintly visible beneath our own. This collaborative spirit is now reshaping the field itself, transforming it from a solitary academic pursuit into a global, collective effort. The study of ancient star maps has burst from the halls of universities, inviting everyone with curiosity and an internet connection to become a co-discoverer. Online platforms like Zooniverse host projects where volunteers from around the world sift through thousands of digital photographs of rock art, helping trained archaeologists identify and classify celestial symbols. A retired teacher in Canada or a student in Japan can now spot a recurring pattern of dots that might be the key to understanding a site's astronomical purpose, contributing a vital piece to a puzzle that no single researcher could solve alone. This is the power of citizen science, where countless eyes bring fresh perspectives, often noticing details that might otherwise be overlooked. Amateur astronomers, with their deep, practical knowledge of the night sky, are also invaluable partners. They bring a hands-on understanding of celestial motion, sometimes proposing new alignment theories or helping to verify an ancient observation by recreating it with their own telescopes and star charts. This fusion of professional methodology with public passion is accelerating discovery at an unprecedented rate. Museums play a crucial role in this democratization of knowledge. By digitizing their collections and making high-resolution scans of artifacts available online, they unlock archives that were once accessible only to a select few. Engaging documentaries and open-access research papers further break down the barriers, allowing anyone to delve into the latest findings. This open-handed approach does more than just spread information. it fosters a profound, shared sense of stewardship. When people feel a personal connection to these ancient wonders, they become their most passionate protectors. This growing public engagement is the lifeblood of the field, ensuring that the quest to understand our ancestors' view of the cosmos continues to inspire new eyes and minds for generations to come. This growing public fascination with ancient star maps carries a profound and necessary responsibility. As more eyes turn toward these celestial carvings, we must also open our ears to the living voices of the communities for whom these sites are not relics, but sacred and active places of memory. For many indigenous peoples around the world, a petroglyph is not an abandoned artifact. It is a living chapter in their ongoing story, a direct connection to their ancestors and their spiritual worldview. The very act of research, if done without permission or cultural understanding, can become a form of harm, severing that vital thread. This is why modern archaeology is increasingly guided by a crucial ethical principle: free, prior, and informed consent, as outlined in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. This means that before any research begins, before a single laser scan is taken or a measuring tape is laid out, there must be a genuine dialogue. The community must be fully informed about the project's goals and methods, and they must have the power to give or withhold their consent without any pressure. This collaborative approach transforms the work from an extraction of data into a shared journey of discovery. The ethics extend beyond the initial fieldwork. When it comes to publishing findings or sharing site locations, researchers must carefully consider the community's wishes. Some knowledge is meant to be sacred and restricted, not broadcast to the world. Publicizing the exact location of a sensitive site can lead to an influx of visitors that accelerates its physical decay and disrupts its spiritual tranquility. There is also the vital question of repatriation, which goes beyond physical objects to include the repatriation of knowledge itself. This means ensuring that the interpretations and data gathered are shared with and ultimately owned by the descendant communities, helping them reclaim narratives that were often taken or misinterpreted in the past. This ethical framework is not a barrier to science, it is its necessary foundation. By listening to the oral traditions and deep cultural knowledge of indigenous partners, researchers gain a dimension of understanding that no satellite image or laser scan could ever provide. A spiral is no longer just a potential solstice marker. It becomes the breath of a creator, a symbol of emergence, a map of a spiritual journey. This respectful collaboration ensures that our reading of the stars is not just astronomically accurate, but culturally whole, honoring the profound and living legacy written in the stone. The future of deciphering these stone-bound skies may not rest with human eyes alone, but with the quiet, analytical gaze of artificial intelligence. Imagine a machine learning algorithm trained on thousands of images of petroglyphs from every continent. It would not see a spiral as we do, as a single symbol, but as a data point in a vast constellation of global carvings. It could process the precise angles of lines, the statistical clustering of dots, and the subtle variations in symbol shapes across cultures at a scale and speed impossible for any research team. This digital detective could then search for hidden patterns, identifying correlations that have eluded us for centuries. It might reveal that a specific arrangement of cups and rings in Scotland shares a mathematical relationship with a sun symbol in the American Southwest, both aligning with the same solstice event, hinting at a deeper, perhaps universal, symbolic language for the sun's journey. Beyond reinterpreting known sites, AI could become a predictive tool for discovery. By analyzing topographical data, known astronomical alignments, and settlement patterns, An algorithm could highlight areas on a map where the likelihood of finding a new celestial calendar is highest, guiding archaeologists to forgotten high points and hidden canyon walls. It could even cross-reference these symbols with enormous databases of global mythology, suggesting that an ambiguous figure etched in stone is not just a hunter, but a specific celestial deity from a nearby culture's oral tradition. While this technology is still in its earliest stages, it promises a future where the fragmented sky maps of our ancestors can be digitally reassembled. We could one day witness a virtual reconstruction of a ceremony at the Goseck Circle, with the simulated winter solstice sun rising perfectly through its gate, or watch as an AI visually demonstrates how a star cluster's position shifted over millennia against a fixed petroglyph. This is not about replacing human intuition, but augmenting it, offering a powerful new lens to peer even deeper into the astronomical mind of the ancient world and recover stories we thought were lost to time forever. These silent star maps carved in stone deliver a powerful message across the ages, one that reshapes our entire understanding of the past. Our ancestors were not primitive people, but brilliant observers who wove a sophisticated knowledge of the cosmos into the very fabric of their existence. It was present in the farmer planting by the Pleiades, the navigator guided by Polaris, and the priest aligning a temple to capture the solstice sun. From the portable bronze cosmos of the Nebra Sky Disk to the public sun dagger of Choco Canyon, we have seen how astronomy was inseparable from survival, spirituality, and the very architecture of power. These celestial records are a lasting testament to a universal human drive, the need to find our place in a vast and orderly universe. They challenge us to step outside tonight and look up at the same stars with fresh eyes, to see the night sky not as a void, but as a living bridge connecting us to every generation that came before, each one adding its own story to the great celestial narrative. The quest to fully decode these messages is far from over. It is a vibrant, collaborative dance between cutting-edge science and enduring tradition, between digital laser scans and ancient oral histories. We would love to hear which of these celestial mysteries captured your imagination the most. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you are ready for more journeys into the depths of history, be sure to